Okay, we have some troop leaders that decided to stay for some more. All right. Right, item number 8, for final adoption, bond ordinance 2071.
Bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements in and by the Borough of South Plainfield in County Middlesex, New Jersey, appropriating $280,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $265,000 bonds or notes of the borough to finance part of the cost thereof.
Thank you. As this is for, can I get a motion for final adoption on ordinance 2071?
So, second.
Motion by Councilman Wolak, seconded by Councilman Benga. As this is for final adoption, we'll open up for public comments on bond ordinance 2071. Seeing none, close the public portion. Council comments regarding the final adoption of ordinance 2071. Seeing none, Amy, can you call the roll?
Yes, Councilman Benga?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fostini?
Yes.
Councilman Bash?
Yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
Council President White?
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you. Mr. Cullen, you wanted to make some comments regarding the resolutions?
Yeah, Mayor, I just want to mention, and I probably should have done it in the agenda session, I had mentioned that going forward, we would put the value of the tax appeal refunds in our correspondence. But just so you all know, prior to voting, Resolution 1766, we believe is estimated to be approximately $18,785. And 1767, we estimate to be approximately $48,345.
Okay. All right, can I get a motion for resolution 17-64 to 17-78, 17-80 to 84?
Motion?
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Faustini, seconded by Council President White. Amy, can you call the roll?
Yes, Councilman Benga?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fostini?
Yes.
Councilman Bash?
Yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
And Council President White?
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you. Okay, so for resolution 17-79, Mr. Rizzo, this, for clarification, this is just authorizing the mayor to execute the settlement agreement already voted on by the council at the prior meeting and all necessary documentation to obtain the judgment of compliance regarding the borough's affordable housing compliance plan.
Yes, Mayor, last meeting, the council voted unanimously to approve the agreement, meaning you approved the number, approved the development, approved the areas of development, and this is just basically memorializing what had previously been agreed upon. I would liken it to a Board of Adjustment or Planning Board application where you commonly approve or disapprove, or let's say approve of an application in one meeting, and at the subsequent meeting is a written resolution memorializing what was done. So really all you're doing here is memorializing what has already been done.
Thank you. Can I get a motion for 17-79?
So. Second.
Motion by Councilman White, seconded by Councilwoman Wallach. Were there any comments?
Well, Mayor, I mean, this thing is, I just think that the public really hasn't been notified enough on this. And I know, yes, we all voted on this at the last meeting and everything, and I really feel like we need to table this and talk to the public more. I know we've all had some phone calls and concerns on it, and, you know, I've ran into a few residents. I had a few residents actually call me even over the weekend. I couldn't get back to them because I really didn't have a voice. But I feel like this didn't just spring up on the borough within the last month or so. And that was one of the outrages that I got from one of the residents that, you know, like this just didn't come about December, January. You know, they're wondering why, like, they weren't notified. Why wasn't any of this talked back maybe in the spring or even over the summer? I don't know how long this has been in production since, you know, when Edgewood Properties had bought the location. But it just seems like there's a lot of people outraged over this, and, you know, I'd like to see a motion that we table this, and I don't know if we gotta go door to door on the south side of town and talk to people. I don't know really what the
John, maybe you weren't listening from 7:05 to 7:55. I don't know. probably everybody else here was. We went through with Betsy, we went through with Stan. You've been in executive meetings since November. Everything we've talked about here, we could go, and I said, you're reiterating the same things that I said. I could go door to door, just like you repeated, and it wouldn't change one thing. So, as the borough attorney said, you've already agreed on a settlement. Maybe we've got a little political pressure coming from across the street. I get it. I can understand that maybe you're being told that what you did 2 weeks ago really isn't politically,
No,
you
it's
know.
not coming from across
Well,
the
then,
street.
John, what is your concern? Because what we've said here and what professionals have said is the only thing you're going to do is put the borough residents at greater risk of more units, more affordable housing, possibly additional industrial sites being developed, possibly going from 400 units in 1111 Durham to 700. Tell me one thing that a resident that you go to door, where I can talk for a while, right? We know that. I can talk for a while. I have no problem talking to residents. And by the way, only one called me. So maybe they reach out to councilmen more than mayors and councilwomen. I don't know. Hasn't been what I've experienced over the years. I tend to get most of the complaints when they occur. So if you can tell me what's going to change, where the borough is going to be in a better position tomorrow if you don't vote. By the way, you've already voted and agreed. All you're doing is, so you guys all have agreed that this settlement is in the best interest of the borough. Drafts of this have gone out prior to the prior council meeting 2 weeks ago, which you've all had ample opportunity to look at. We had an executive session meeting for an hour at the prior meeting. You've had an additional 2 weeks to look at that prior draft. Should we go through line item by line item the changes in this agreement? Stan, how material are the changes in this agreement? None. So you've had the agreement for now close to, 3 weeks. We've been discussing what was going to happen here since November. We've been trying to avert it since a lot longer than that. So again, yes, we could have gone out to the town and we could have broadcast to every commercial owner out there with a property that maybe they look at their operation and say, a warehousing operation brings me X amount of dollars, but you know what, 300-400 units bring me a lot more money. So if that's what you choose, we can try and go that route. But you just heard from the court master, the appointed court master, who has told me probably 85 times that she will not budge and that she is not going to give us any better deal. She's not going to represent to the courts any better deal that we have here today. What is it? And look, I don't know, probably social media is probably the most important thing going on here as far as people, certainly in town, aren't getting their news from Channel 4 and Channel 7. We had it on, we weren't trying to hide anything. 2 weeks after you guys approved this agreement and all came to Borough Hall and signed a letter agreeing, 2 days after, where you had time to think about it for 2 additional days, signed a letter that was sent to all the newspapers and put on the borough website. Clearly not hiding anything. Hold on, just 1 second. Clearly not hiding anything. I mean, social media, you can't get probably any better than that. And it was picked up by TAP. How many, there's a TAP editor out there. How many readers do you have? How many hits does your average story get? How many hits did this story get? Couple thousand. Nancy, how many residents do you cover through subscription and probably through just couple thousand? We've advertised this. Was it advertised that there was going to be a meeting tonight? Was it in both newspaper articles?
Yes.
It was in the letter. It was in comments that I've seen back and forth on social media. Where are the residents? Anybody from the south side here?
Yes.
Stand up. Okay, we got one.
I am. I was.
2.
And we had,
3.
if I may, Mayor, we did have some dialogue in the intermission between the meeting, and it was really just clarification and trying to just understand where we are and how we got here, which I will say that The reason that this was not brought out before was because it was an executive session, and we were not allowed to, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Rizzo, until we acted on it, correct?
Well, yes, but the reason it's an executive session is through that period of time you're negotiating. This was a long negotiation. You didn't have anything to act on until very recently.
Right, so now we do, now we have an agreement. So again, I just ask you, what is it that you expect will change by tabling this today, removing the protection that we have from the courts, having our professionals go back to the courts and saying that South Plainfield is refusing to allow the mayor to sign this agreement, which honestly I do not want to sign.
No,
I can stand up here and tell you just as much. It's the last thing that I want to sign.
Mayor, I know that. I know it's the
Other than
last
a
thing.
check.
I know it's the last thing. I know it's the last thing on your line and on everybody
Right,
else's.
so I ask you, what is going to change? What is the course of action?
I feel that the residents just haven't, and I understand you're saying that there's legal obligations that they couldn't be notified until just recently.
No, John, they've been notified. So at the prior council meeting 2 weeks ago, this hit Facebook.
No, I'm talking private. I'm
Oh, right.
talking springtime,
Granted.
fall time, whatever.
Granted, but it's been in the media, it's been on social media for the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks. So, I mean, it's
Yeah, but
been
it's
out.
no news to you that when it was election time, when we were, everybody, whether it was Democrat or Republican, walking that district, walking that area, the number one question when we were going door to door was, what's going on with that property? And they were asking us, and we're like, we have no idea. We don't know
Yeah,
what's going
no,
on.
I agree, and it's the same answer I just gave you 55 minutes ago. We were bringing commercial residents, commercial applications to that site and continually getting rejected. So the reason why you didn't see any agreement for it is because we held out to the possible last minute where our court, our immunity, our protection from developers' remedies is now expiring. So it doesn't have nothing to do with the election. You're going to get to the final point. Why on earth would we want to settle early? We don't want to settle now. But we're settling now because we're losing the court, protection, the builder's remedy protection that's in front of us today. Until we were losing that, we had so-called protection against builder's remedy suit, but that's not. So again, I mean, it's been out there. It's been in the newspapers. I don't know how you get more transparent than having the issue in the newspapers. This will go through planning board, and again, Mr. Lambert came up, and we went through painstakingly, point after point after point, of what our options were. You heard the comments from our court-appointed master. You heard the comments from our planning. You've been in executive session. What is your suggested course of action, other than tabling this, removing the protection? What do you propose our next step to be?
I just wanted to see if they'd like to get a little more input for residents, but
And what are we,
if there's
and
nothing
John,
more we can do.
Councilman, that's fine. We get more input from residents. I'm always welcome. I'm always looking to hear input
Because
from
we all
residents.
know and you know it just as well, the impacts that this is gonna put on the borough itself.
Yes, we've all been over that. We've
Yes,
went
I know,
painstakingly
that's what
through
I'm
Mr.
saying, these are
Lambert.
things I'm bringing up.
But we've also said that there is no way to prevent that.
I know.
So again, I ask you, if your suggestion to this governing body, and they can choose to do what they wish, if we table this today, what do we do when we wake up tomorrow morning to ensure that the residents of South Plainfield don't see even more housing than we're facing at this particular moment today? So, let me get this
The borough's
straight.
putting in a really bad position.
We know that. We all agree that. I don't think any one of us were happy about signing the letter that we've signed and agreeing to this agreement that you guys agreed to 2 weeks ago. Doesn't change the situation. Sometimes you have awful decisions to make. It's fun running for council and running for mayor. We can sit there and say we're against this, we're against that. There's only a couple of offices in this country that allow you to do that. Those are our assemblymen and state senators who, again, are more concerned about cats than they are about the council on affordable
That's
housing.
the reason we're in this predicament.
But so, what do we do tomorrow if you convince this governing body to table the ability for me to sign something that I clearly don't want to sign, but is in the best interest of the residents?
No.
We have no plan. So what you're saying is table this.
I just think that there hasn't been a plan. Other than
John,
looking at
Councilman,
what what the best plan that's out there right now. Yes, this plan is the
Hold
best.
on, because I've got all night. They pay us to be here all night. Stan, come up. When we started this predicament, God knows how long ago, what was the original plan put forth from the borough to address the next round of the Council on Affordable Housing?
But basically, what the borough was proposing, and other than this 1111 Durham site, is essentially the plan that you had in place and had in place for close to a decade. And in fact, actually, we've fought pretty hard to ensure that plan, the basic framework of the plan, that the borough had gotten approval from COA. And actually, the borough was like one of the few municipalities that got a third-round substantive certification from the Council on Affordable Housing. So that's basically your plan, other than 1111 Durham, is essentially the plan that you've had in place for a number of years.
So prior administration's plan, which was in place prior to this. The only thing that wasn't executed in 2009, based on a governor being elected that vowed to disrupt the whole system and redo it, was any kind of developer's agreement that covered the Harris Field property.
That is correct.
That's it.
Yeah.
And so we're facing now a new need to cover the period of 2015 through 2025, of which our plan was, because we felt that there was no vacant land, there was no way to meet this development, that we were looking at overlay zones, transforming the current downtown, essentially going from all the way to where you see South Plainfield Avenue, the downtown, going back towards Sherman's, back towards the mall where CVS, Walgreens, thank you, all the way back to the fire department, making that area very much like what you see with a mixed-use development with storefronts on the bottom and units on top.
Yeah, and in fact, we've had discussions with Council President White with regards to that in terms of making sure that the plan for those overlay sites essentially works hand in hand with the other efforts that the borough is undertaking to help revitalize the downtown area. So that's that is the other new component to this plan,
Yep.
but essentially it advances the same goals and objectives that the borough had in terms of its comprehensive plan and its efforts to revitalize the downtown.
Right. And so that was reasonable until, again, even though we have builder's remedy approval, when we have an objector willing to build right away, our ability to have that vacant land adjustment was no longer valid.
That's correct.
Right. So, and Council President, I don't know, you remember, I know we have at least one of the members, or a couple of members from our Business Development Advisory Group here. We met with the Business Development Advisory Group, and we met with the chairman at the time, and we went over this plan painstakingly, how we would redevelop the downtown, which is something we would all love to do here. Foster a walkable downtown, a real walkable downtown in South Plainfield, which is still part of the plan. It's just that we're forced with this additional element. So, it's not that we've been sitting around here doing nothing.
I never said you had to.
Right. No. So, we've taken this very seriously. Our plan was never to allow 1111 Durham to be part of the housing element in South Plainfield. In fact, we thought we had credible planning reasons as to why it makes no sense to locate affordable housing there. Number one, you're not close to public transportation, you're not necessarily close to walkable services. We made every argument and more. I showed Betsy a lot of my sketches and drawings, but she flat out refused to look at anymore. I think she threatened me if I brought them up one more time. We had every argument that I could possibly think of to avoid this. So, again, your vote is your vote. You've already approved, based on hopefully an agreement that you read prior to voting on it 2 weeks ago, sitting in numerous executive sessions from the moment you were elected councilman to today. And we've been painstakingly over the fact that there are no alternatives. That whatever you do, And know this when you cast your vote, that whatever you do, by not authorizing me to sign the agreement that you already approved, all you're doing is making the case worse for the residents of South Plainfield. Because if you've got no plan for me to wake up tomorrow and start working with Stan and Betsy and the courts as to what our alternative is going to be, how we convince the courts that a developer that has a property that he claims he can't rent, even though we would counter to the opposite of that.
What year did he purchase the property?
Glenn, do you know? Probably a couple of years ago.
3 years ago, maybe.
And how long has it been vacant prior to him purchasing the property?
It was for sale for years, because I know there was a tax appeal,
The wells operating.
and it was vacant for many years.
Yeah. The interesting thing is that, I guess the REIT, Real Estate Investment Trust, that owned the property and that was looking to lease it, was only looking at those particular uses. When the property became, and I don't know how they weren't successful at finding anything there, because when it came to Council President White and I, we found numerous, opportunities and numerous folks looking in there, reaching out to the state. Granted, office space in suburban areas in New Jersey is clearly on the decline. At some point, it was going to be, repurposed. I don't see the movement away from residential and suburban areas into more urban areas has been happening for some time. But throughout that, from when he owned it, we've had conversations with him about attracting businesses to there. Now, he sat across the table, played a very good game.
He has no desire ever.
Of course. And then at some point when that was no longer going to go, he proposed a whole host of things. Now, because through that 2 to 3 year period of time, COA wasn't in existence, he had nothing to stand on. So the more he met with us, the more we told him, I'd like to see a golf course over there. I'd like to see a driving range over there. I'd like to see an ice skating rink over there. I'd like to see football fields over there, soccer field, anything. He wasn't going to listen to me then because he knew this day was coming. How did he know this day was coming? Because he hired the previous judge that was hearing our case. The judge that retired, didn't retire, quit without getting a pension. So is the system a little rigged? You bet. So again, I ask you, what should we do tonight and what should I do tomorrow if this governing body decides to not allow me to sign the document that you approved 2 weeks ago that I clearly don't want to sign, but I will sign because not signing it puts the residents of South Plainfield in more risk, more harm to our school systems, more harm to our police department, more harm to our fire department, more harm to OEM, EMS, the school system, Mr. Miller, and the infrastructure in town, and everybody else around this borough. There's not one person who I think this is going to benefit. Strike that. There's 2 people that are going to benefit. On the positive side, we'll have 400 more families coming to South Plainfield that will get to enjoy what we've got to enjoy, and hopefully not too much deteriorated over the period of time. But that is our only choice. Absent that, we can invite 700 more families to town on that unit, or maybe more. So, what shall I do?
Proceed.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor, could I just,
Oh, yes.
just one thing that I'd like to say. About the public being notified, I wish that they could hear you.
They can. I will do this show
I
again.
know that, but
Yes.
what I meant was,
They can hear me.
I wish that they could actually, I wish they would come to the council meetings.
I do too, and since they haven't, I promise to go out into the community, whether it's the senior center or the schools. I will ask the TAP and the Observer to bring me a crowd. I will be wherever.
Because truthfully, I don't think they know that you had prospective buyers.
Sure, they don't. Well, I mean, I've said it.
You've said it, but, truthfully,
It doesn't matter. The
I'm
councilman,
not saying-
unfortunately, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter
I'm not
because
saying that
yeah.
matters. I'm just saying that I think that if they hear it, coming right from you, I don't want to sign this thing. I don't think this is, not that affordable housing isn't good for the town,
Right.
but that the way it was presented.
Yeah, Councilman, we addressed that in the letter.
I know.
And you
But
guys
also in
also,
the letter, it did say we were gonna, there was gonna be some meetings.
there will be after, right? We can't have it, there is no point again, there's no guarantee. We may be talking to 3 people when we have this town hall meeting.
That's true.
It's certainly possible. But we can't call a town hall meeting when we have not finalized this agreement. Well, we finalized the agreement. Until I sign the agreement and we go and we get our fairness hearing, what am I talking about to the residents? Because
This thing.
there's nothing to say to the residents, because
No, there is. You could tell them that what you tried to do, and this was what we got back into.
Well, we
Well,
do
that's-
have a timeframe, and if you don't
But
vote,
for the from when that letter was signed till now, there was 2 weeks, maybe something could have
But
been
there's the
done.
meeting today, Councilman, and I think that is, you can't discount the meeting today. The advertised Borough Council gathering meeting, as opposed to some meeting that we have at Roosevelt School, or the Senior Center, or the high school, or somewhere else where people are accustomed to seeing us here in this building. And at a regularly scheduled meeting where a letter that went out and where newspaper articles, I'm sure, addressed the fact that we would be authorizing this agreement at this meeting. So, am I disappointed nobody's here? Yes. Does it change our options? No. Will we continue to have these meetings? Will I drag these professionals out because Betsy and I have gotten to be friends? I think we're going to golf this spring together? Maybe not. Not really. Kidding. Not kidding. Kidding. I wouldn't trust Betsy on a golf course with a driver's seat. No,
I
just
wouldn't
kidding.
trust me at a golf course either.
Thank you, Betsy. So none of that would change.
I understand.
But we will have those meetings. We will make ourselves available. We will bring Stan out. We will bring Steve, and we will bring Betsy. And we will bring all of you out, and we will do the same thing. And we will go painstakingly over it. We can show them with painstaking detail what the proposed site will look like in early stages. And the whole idea for that is to then have those residents, after we have this long session, I think we've got probably, based on how this is going, at least an hour and a half. And then once we're done with that, I expect that these residents will be able to break down and talk to these professionals and then get all their questions answered. So that's been the plan for ever since we talked about it in executive session. This is no surprise to you guys.
No, it's not that it's a surprise, it's just, again, I got put into this in just a few meetings, a few executive sessions. The plan was explained to me. I knew what was going on, but the residents.
Correct. Unfortunately, fortunately, look, the residents go out in November and they vote for representatives. You are their representative. Joe is their representative. Everyone here is the representative of our residents. Granted, there are things, and we went over painstakingly the reasons why we didn't telegraph this to the world. We already had an intervener that had a property that, in our opinion, had a valuable commercial use. There are other properties in South Plainfield that have a viable commercial use. But if I was a betting man, I could tell you I could take that site and I could overlay how many condos or townhomes I could get and see if I could intervene and get a builder's remedy once this case worked its way through the court system. In fact, what I will tell you is the developer that owns 1111 Durham also owns additional property on Hamilton Boulevard, who during the course of our negotiations strongly suggested, use another word that starts with T, that he would include those properties in the plan. So I take him at his word for it. If we don't approve this, well, if you don't allow me to sign this today, I've never fought so hard for something I don't want to sign. But if you don't allow me to sign this today, I can guarantee you he will change his tune. He will be up to 700 plus units. He will maximize his profit potential at 1111 Durham. And he will then look to include the other properties that he also owns on Hamilton Boulevard. That's one developer. That's a guarantee. The unknown is who else is out there that's also going to join on this wagon. hitch their wagon to our little downhill roller coaster of a ride into the bowels of the Council on Affordable Housing or the court system in the state of New Jersey. So I ask you the same thing, Councilman, and all the councilmen and women here. If not to sign this tonight, what do we do when we wake up tomorrow morning?
We'll go to trial. I
Again,
think that's,
We go to
I
trial.
don't like you, Councilman, but I think that needs to be said.
Yes.
If you don't sign this agreement, then I have to report to the court, to the intervener, to Fair Share Housing, that we don't have an agreement. And once that happens, you're gonna have a trial date. You're
Right.
not gonna have any more deals, there's not gonna be any more plans.
And
I just
so,
wanna make that understood.
conservatively, how much would we estimate legal action to cost on this?
I think we estimated $250,000, and we thought that might be light.
250,000 on the low end, $250,000 to end up with more units and potentially more sites. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't like the decision, and I don't like the options that we have, but you have the choice. You've already, in fact, agreed to this, like we said 2 weeks ago. It's just a matter of whether we sign this tonight. But you have a choice between a horrible decision and probably drastically worse one. There's no good decision here tonight. Well, you could look at it the other way. The good decision is that you limit the exposure to the residents of South Plainfield, to the school system, to the infrastructure, to your police officers, fire officials, firefighters, EMS, and your fellow residents, and you say we stop the bleeding here, because we don't want to go into a court system where, as I've told Betsy, it's not a fair court system. It's rigged. You've all heard that before, right? It's rigged.
Does this-
Rigged against us.
You might have mentioned it before. Does this plan now protect us from other developers or even this developer on his other sites
Yes.
or any of our other
Yes, it does.
sites?
Because we will have an agreement. Betsy's nodding yes if you want to take a look at that. We will have an agreement in place. The court-appointed master is signing off, and she will represent to the
And this agreement will last till
2025.
Okay.
And then, let's hope, that gives the legislature 8 years. Let's hope that they move past the cat clawing issue, and they finally focus on what forcing additional housing on municipalities is doing to our communities. Again, I know this has been said before, but let's say it again. We have no objection to affordable housing. My contention has always been that if we choose as a community to allow a developer to build in our community, we have no problem with setting aside 20% of whatever we approve on those sites to affordable housing. The problem is we all have the same concerns we've talked about. The school system, the roads go on and on and on. But there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, it's not against affordable housing, the people, it's the impacts that it's gonna create
And I know maybe some people weren't here, maybe some people missed this on the last meeting. Again, we talked about the overlay zones in the downtown as part of the plan. We also looked at, could you have this as a 100% senior residence housing? Well, no, you can't, because you have limits as to how many credits you get for senior housing. So everything that I've seen on social media, I understand people look, I didn't want to be an expert on, I don't consider myself an expert, but I'm getting there. I didn't want to be knowledgeable on the Council on Affordable Housing and how all this stuff works. Unfortunately, that's where we're at. So while they are good suggestions that we've seen out there, and I'm sure you guys have heard them, you've all sat in executive session, we've gone, talked to our client, you're limited to what you, so we cannot take 400 units over there and make them as senior housing. It can't, or veterans homes, it can't be done. So. Any other discussion? All right.
Mayor, if I may, I would just like to say, as I said in the prior meeting, that the only way I said, and I looked residents in the eye on the south side, I said that the only way that I would vote for something like this to change that property and allow houses there would be if we were forced. And at the end of the day, our hand is forced, and we're minimizing the impact to the borough, and that's what we're here for. And it's not an easy decision, but If all the decisions were easy, everyone would be up here. And I'm not willing personally to look residents in the eye somewhere down the road and know that I could have minimized the impact of this decision, and I didn't do it.
I just want to say, we were elected to make tough decisions, and this is a tough decision. But throughout my life, I've always had to make decisions. I might not like those decisions, but sometimes you're kind of forced to make those decisions because you know it's the best thing and the best interest for yourself, or in this case, the borough. So the way I see it is, I've been on council for 1 year, so I don't have as much experience as the mayor, but the way I see it is there's 4 issues here. We're going to have attorney fees of $250,000 to $500,000 if we say no to that. And that's just to make our argument in court, and we have no way to know if we're going to lose or win. Motorola, they started out with $750, we got them down to $410. Most likely that's going to go up to $750 because we're going to have a vacant land adjustment that now is open to scrutiny. And most likely that will go up. Also, there'll be other developers. It's going to be notified that we're going to be going to court. So there's going to be all different people coming in and saying, hey, I've got property. I want to have a development. I want to work with this plan. So, and because we have that vacant land adjustment, that's going to shrink and the properties or the development's going to increase. So I think I addressed, I mean, the big issue here is I don't want to turn this political. I think voting yes on this is the most important thing. Is good for, is the best decision you can make for the borough.
Councilman, the decision has already been made. So your vote today just says that while you agree to the plan and the agreement, that you just now don't want me to sign what you agreed to. So I mean that's fine. People make strange decisions all the time, but this. If you did not agree with this course of action, but the time was 2 weeks ago. Again, not that your choices were better, but what you're doing today is really just authorizing me to sign my name on a contract an agreement that's already been drafted based on your approval to our professionals. So you've already given them the approval to do what they've done. It's just whether we execute that, whether I sign that, the result. So, any other comments or suggestions, concerns, courses of action?
I just think, Mayor Nash said it best when he said all the alternatives, we've taken them, they're here now. So there really is no choice but to move forward at this time with the agreement.
Amy, you want to take a roll call?
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There
Yeah,
was
there was a
actually.
motion.
Council President White made a motion, and it was seconded by Councilman Waller.
Yes, it was. It was a while ago.
Roll call, Councilman Benjavanga.
Refused.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilwoman Faustini?
Yes.
Councilman Besh?
No.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
Council President White?
Yes,
Passes 4-1.
reluctantly.
Thank you, I think. Well, not really. Item number 10, correspondence. 4 items. Zoning Board minutes, December 20, 2016. Planning Board minutes, December 13, 2016, and January 3, 2017. Finance Office tax appeal calculation sheet. Health Advisory Board minutes, January 24, 2017. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Council President White, seconded by Councilman Benjavanga. Amy, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yeah.
Councilwoman Faustini?
Yes.
There may be more comments. I don't know if we open it up to the public, so you guys
Oh, if you
just
want to
got
say, that's
yeah.
fine.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I know we've covered pretty much all the ground, but sorry.
That's okay. Councilman Besh?
Yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
Council President White?
Yes,
Passes 6-0.
Thank you. On payment of the bills, $741,770.47. Can I get a motion, please?
so moved.
Second.
Motion by Council President White, seconded by Councilman Dean. Amy, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilwoman Faustini?
Yes.
Councilman Besh?
Yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
Council President White?
Yes,
Passes 6-0.
Mr. Rizzo, anything for us tonight?
Progress, Mayor.
Thank you. Council, I'll keep on calling you Council.
I want to be on council.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's probably a good move.
Just,
CFO, color.
yeah, Mayor, just want to mention, I think the last meeting, I had mentioned that our rateable base, had finally had gotten up, and it had gotten up for the second consecutive, rateable base for the fifth consecutive year. And I think in December, I said that our surplus would also be increasing for the second or third year in a row. And sure enough, our surplus number from where we started last year, it has an increase of about $40,000. Also, Councilman Dean has been working with myself and others on an ongoing issue, I guess, over at Borough Auto Records. We have our, one of our attorneys, Mr. Fisher, who's actively involved in it. And I spoke to his office earlier today, and he's had difficulty contacting the attorney representing Borough Auto Records, but I know this week he has a letter, or has correspondence out to them, we'll have correspondence out to them, as well as to the DEP. We believe there are some DEP issues with that facility. With that, Paul?
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Yes, Mayor, just one item quickly. The curbside recycling contract will be up in May 1st, and I've revised the bid specifications. We're going out to bid. It'll be in the paper this week. We'll receive the bids the beginning of March 9th, and we'll have time to review those and see whether we can get a good price with the contractor, or possibly see what the rates are with the county also. So we'll have time to analyze the two of those and see what works out the best for us with that progress.
Thank you. And
Just to report, Mr. Mayor, my office has been working very diligently on putting together the school board election on March 14th. So, and we've got progress.
thank you. Councilman Dean.
Yes, the environmental, Alice Temple notified me that our spring townwide cleanup will be on the April 15th from 9 to 12. So everyone is welcome to come out, and at the end of the day, she's having a pizza party back here at Biggest for a while. That progress.
Sounds better than what we did tonight. Picked up garbage for 2 hours, or picked up garbage for 2 hours? Councilman Guston.
Yes, I have to, if you saw the minutes from the Health Advisory Board meeting were enclosed in your packets. We called this meeting earlier than scheduled at the request of the owner of the tattoo parlor in town to examine their yearly fees. So the committee has met. I was present along with Councilman Bess, and on the committee's advisement, after discussing everything that is involved in the inspections and the type of business and all the different licenses, special license required, checking minors' IDs, so on and so forth, the committee has gone forth with a recommendation to adjust the fee to $1,000 a year. That's the report on that. I don't know if Councilman Best would like to add anything?
No, you nailed it pretty well there. The committee, it was quite a long meeting, actually. There was a lot of questions asked. There was, I'm not sure that Scott, was it?
Yeah, there was someone there quite knowledgeable in
Yeah.
the healthcare
That's
field, so he was very familiar with everything that goes on. All the, because there's blood and needles and, so he said it is quite an involved process of inspection. We did examine fees from the other towns to see where we stood as well. Currently, before that, the fee was $4,000 a year. The highest fee anywhere near South Plainfield was $900, and that was Piscataway. So the committee has recommended to adjust our fee to $1,000 a year for tattoo parlors only.
That's pretty much it.
So,
So if there's any discussion
I
or
guess, yeah, right.
consideration by the
Discussion or
council to go along with that
recommendation.
adjustment.
yeah, so it's another decision where I don't think anybody wants to lower these things, but I don't know how we avoid to, without ending up in the courts and also saying that we have no choice here. Thoughts?
I think. Well, you're gonna need an ordinance to
Right.
make the change.
Right, just if there's any feedback. All right, so you've been instructed to draft that. Have fun. Anything else?
I was just gonna add, I know, Mr. Rizzo, you had some input to council members and things like that as well.
I don't wanna say too much
Right,
more
of
quickly
course.
because litigation is always a possibility out there, but I have expressed that I did not believe in court I could support in any way the fee that was there, which I had expressed to both council persons. I believe we're still, at this fee, still the highest in the county. And I still, based on what I'm hearing, I think it's sensible. And I'm uncomfortable.
Thank you.
But it's also closer to the other
Right.
municipalities. Still the highest, but defendable maybe. Anything else, Councilwoman?
Yes, and I just wanted to report that this Saturday at the Senior Center, we held our first Chinese New Year celebration in partnership with Buddhist Light International Association. They are located in South Plainfield. I think we probably had the attendance far exceeded my expectation. I would say there was probably 300 people that attended. It was enjoyed by
Say
our...
that with the fireworks.
Not all at
What's
once.
the allowable,
About 190.
Okay. Not
It
all
was-
at
it was
once.
within the
This is-
allowable.
Yeah, this is through a 4-hour period, so
That's where it
we'll
was.
back a little bit there. But there was a lot there that was offered.
rotated in and out, she meant to say?
Yes, throughout the day,
Right.
throughout the 4-hour period of time. But it was received very well. It was partnered with the library, the Cultural Arts Association. We had help from DPW. We had help from the school system. So really, all these organizations came and worked together to make this event a success. And it's something that I definitely look forward to doing again. The residents got to experience a lion dance at the beginning, a professional Chinese opera singer. There was a Chinese paper cutter who was really amazing. He made a silhouette of Councilman White, down to the little fine hairs. I mean, it was just incredible. His work is still displayed at the library, if I'm correct. So it was an honor for me to be part of bringing that to the town for the first time, and I just wanted to thank Darlene Collins here on behalf of the library board and Suzanne Poor for helping sponsor this event.
Thank you. And it's the year of the rooster, right?
Yes, Year of the Rooster. Next year is Year of the Dog.
Enjoy the year of the rooster. Councilman Benjamin.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to report from our, Councilman Wallach and I attended our last traffic safety meeting, and I know that Councilman Dean, you brought up at the reorg some issues with traffic and stuff, and that you've been talking to Dave. Some of the ideas that we pitched around to try to solve some of the issues we have with GPSs and everything, because I came down Spicer Avenue and came over to the extension going, I guess it would be westbound on the extension going towards Hamilton Boulevard. And there's a truck in front of me, and he had his blinker on to turn right to come towards this end of town. I'm like, where is he going? So I said, let me figure out where he's going. So he comes up to Hamilton, he turns right, goes over the bridge, goes past Borough Hall, down to the extension down here, makes a left, makes a right on New Market, and then a left on South Clinton. Because his GPS took him around. So I think a lot of it has to do with they're not thinking that the closest route is that way, going straight down the Market. They think it's the county road because that's what their GPS telling them. So what we are looking at doing is coming up with, you see it in Heller Industrial Park, you see it down on Corporate Place with Hadley Road, with the Hadley Center sign. Specifically in Heller Industrial Park, it lists all the companies. Somehow coming up with a sign that we could put on the corner of the extension and Hamilton Boulevard on that vacant piece of property that the borough does own. Whether it's 4x4, 8x8, whatever, to say coming north or coming east on New Market Avenue towards Hamilton and town, saying all trucks straight, Harmage, Metuchen Road, Oak Tree Road, whatnot, direct them that way so that they know to go on the truck route, and then coming back, putting their all trucks straight, 287, whatever. This way, hopefully, will eliminate. And they thought that was a good idea to investigate to see if we could do that's not an expensive solution, to try that. And like you said, with some signage and stuff like that.
It's just a matter of better signage.
Yeah.
A sign that says no trucks. it doesn't, it's not, you
Yeah.
know, they're getting confused, especially if it's a one-time trucker that comes in the area every once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
He's following GPS and he's not knowing where he's going.
Yeah, I was just amazed that I'm like, why is this guy turning right? I realized, oh, that's because it's a county road to take him down to the extension. So hopefully by putting that sign up, redoing the traffic study and seeing how that works. The other thing is we're looking at, especially with the crosswalk on Cedar Brook, checking with the DOT to see what the appropriate sign we could put in the street. So whether put on Belmont into the street, paint it, all trucks right ahead. I don't know, Dave's checking on that to see what the appropriate thing would be. You do that, you see that with like 25 mile an hour and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And specifically the crosswalk at Cedar Brook and Moores, there's an issue that I came over the little overpass, I guess you would call it, coming over the brook, and the crossing guard was right out there, and there's kids crossing, and you can't really see because you're coming over the hill. So maybe if you put before the bridge and after in the ground saying, school stop ahead and a flashing light there, that's what traffic safety is looking at, and they're working towards some kind of a solution.
everybody, whether you read your news online or whether you read it in print, and then with all the social media and your letter. But I guess my question is for Betsy, if we did have a town hall meeting prior, and say we had 400 residents come out, whatever, and they had all objected to this, would that have any impact on the courts?
No, I mean, you would be facing the same decision anyway. And in fact, I will tell you, going back to the second round, when you were before the court, there were 400 people that came to the council meeting, and then the council did what they had to do then as well. I mean, I think part of when you're sitting up here, you sometimes have to make decisions that you don't like and that people will not like you for, but you have to do it sometimes because it's the right thing.
I sat up there, so I know.
So you know, so, okay. So I'm preaching to the choir here.
I just wanted to make that clear.
It wouldn't have changed what they were facing and the decisions, the pros and cons of the decision they had to make.
Thank you. And I mean, and just an example is with all the referendum meetings that the BOE is having. And they're great, and they're trying to reach out to everybody. I've been to two. One had 20 people, one had 8 people. Okay, and this is going to impact all of us in South Plainfield. So, the other thing, I do have a bone to pick with you, Mayor. I don't see a proclamation about American Park.
Ooh.
Okay, so let's make sure that it's on there.
But we did raise,
We did raise, the borough and council was $185. TAP matched to $200,
and my wedding fund will donate $250 to them.
$250. So maybe we could have
So
a
that's better than
proclamation.
proclamation, but, yeah, we can get that done.
Council meeting, please. We always do that.
Thank you. We will do. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we will close the public portion. We are going into executive session. Anybody that wants to hang around